Okay, today is a very exciting day. We are eventually lowering the Audi, so stay tuned, see how it goes, and see how somebody copes who's never actually done this job before. Let's give it a shot. Okay guys, so welcome back to the channel, to another video on the A3 where, like the title suggests, we are eventually getting around to lowering it. What we've got today is an iBack Sportline lowering kit, which I will show you right here. There you go. So this should drop the car by about 55mm. Now I'm very conscious of the fact that this is already an S-Line, so it is already lowered 25mm from factory, so this should drop it an extra 30mm, and hopefully, because I've got S-Line shocks, that will be absolutely fine on the stock shock absorbers. So I've got a couple of things to do first. I need to go out and get some WD-40 and I need to get some copper slips. We're going to be taking things on and off, so I will meet you up there, and while I'm collecting it I will also just give you a rough indication to sort of the arch gap at the minute, so that we can measure it again afterwards and see what we have lost. So let's go.
A few moments later.
Okay, so scrub those out of there. Right, so I've got my WD-40 and I've got my copper slip. Now, the reason that I needed those is because not so long ago I got these wheels powder coated. As you can see, they're silver. There is a video for that if you want to go see it. They used to be sort of a gunmetal grey, and I noticed when I was changing this speed sensor in one of these wheels that I actually really struggled to get the wheel off. I don't think it had any copper slip or anything on it at all, so I think these wheels are going to be a complete pain to get off. So the first part of this video of jacking the car up, getting all the wheels loose and stuff like that, I'm going to completely breeze by, and then I will pick it up with yourselves when the car is sort of in the air with the wheel off and we are ready to start. But just before, I will show you the springs. So this is what we're working with. Lovely little set of iBack springs. They're all nicely powder coated red. They are a 55mm drop kit, but the car is lowered 25mm from factory. So that is sort of what it looks like. Bog standard with a few tools in the back. Obviously we've already measured. It's about 95mm from there. It's about 100mm from there. So hopefully that should take off about 30mm all round. So let's get this car in the air and get started. So there we go, this is where we are up to. Like I said, these wheels have been completely over tightened, no copper slip on them, nothing, and they've been torqued up to God knows what. So that was pretty hard to get that one off, but we are there now and ready to start on this. So I'm going to cut to a quick time lapse of me just sort of getting the first one over and done with, just so I know what I'm doing, and then the second one I'll sort of talk you through bit by bit and show you exactly how to do it. So let's go. So, okay, eventually we've got one off the car. That took much longer than I thought it was going to be. If anybody's sort of an eagle-eyed viewer, you will notice it's a different day to the footage earlier. I didn't have an M14 spline, which I needed for this job, but I skipped through all that. just so you didn't have to watch it again, and this is where we're at. So we've got the first one off, and I'll show you quickly the just difference between the springs, because there's not as much as you might think. So there we go, obviously that is the one that we've taken off, and that is the one that we're putting back on. Now, in terms of actual height, to be honest, they're about the same. The only things that I can notice straight away, this one is definitely softer, so it's much easier to compress, whereas this one is absolutely rock solid, to be honest. So I'm presuming that once it's on the car, that one just settles more, and that's where you get your lowering from, but we shall see. So I'm going to get this one back on, and then we shall start on the other side. So the spring will have, if you can just see in there, somewhere it will sort of seat. There's just a little bit there. You basically put it on and just twist the spring until that effectively locks back into place. And that'll just hold it from moving about once it's back on the road. We've got a new bump stop. Get that on. That should fit on top nicely now. There we go, that is the entire strut back together and ready to go back on the car. So it's pretty much exactly the same in reverse. Now, I'm not going to tell you the torque settings. Please look into all the torque settings yourself, because yeah, I could tell you one thing, but it doesn't mean it's right. So look into your torque settings, and then you can focus on getting this back up, putting it all back together, and then we've got the other front to do and both the rears. Let's get to it. Okay, so that is everything back on and tightened up. Like I said, please look into the torque settings when you're tightening all this stuff up, but you need to do the tie rod, you need to do this little thing here. Tell you what, I might just need to not forget about that. And then the 3 bolts just under there as well, 1, 2, 3, and then obviously the ones on top. Once all that is tightened up, like mine is now, I'm pretty much ready to get the wheel back on. So I'm going to get the wheel back on, lower it down, and see what it looks like. Probably absolutely no different, but we shall see. Okay, so there we go, it is back on the ground, and to be honest, doesn't look lowered at all, but I know that you can't sort of make that judgment until you've done all 4 and let it settle. So let's crack on with the other side. Hopefully this is going to be a little bit quicker now that I know exactly what I'm doing, and it should be good. Let's go. Okay, so first things first, jack your car up, take your wheels off. That is, you know, the first simple step. After that, you do want to make sure that you cover everything in WD-40, apart from, obviously, your disc brake. All of these nuts and bolts could have been on the car for the last 10 years, so give them a good dousing and wire brush any sort of crud that you can get off. Next things, you need to obviously remove your drop link, which is the one that you just saw me remove at the top, and also the bolt that is holding the strut in. You will need an 18mm socket for the anti-roll bar nut, and then also an 18mm socket and an M14 spline for the nut and bolt that actually holds the strut in. The tool that you saw me using earlier was basically a strut spreader. I really recommend getting one of these. It's a little tool that you can put in the back of the strut, turn it a little bit, and it basically just spreads the strut, which means that you can then just start tapping on the strut, and hopefully the whole hub and everything like that should fall apart. Also, don't forget the 3 bolts on the bottom of the control arm, like I'm doing now. So, as you've probably realised in this video, WD-40 is your friend. Use it, and use it a lot. This is really going to help sort of just break down any grit, grime, whatever there is on these old suspension parts, and really just make your life easier. So yeah, pretty much soak everything. Once everything's disconnected, all the bolts are out, you've obviously got your strut spread, you can start just whacking away until this hub starts coming off the strut. It'll move a couple of millimeters at a time, just keep going until you can get it off. Then you need to make sure that the 3 bolts that are holding the strut in from the top are undone. And then if you're like me and just trying to make it a little bit easier, you can definitely wrongly use some spring compressors just to pull the strut up a little bit. This just means that you don't have to take your drive shaft out or anything like that. Once you've got your strut out, you need to get yourself some spring compressors, compress the spring, and then this should mean that you can get the top mount off. If you can get it off by using an impact gun or something, great. I could just by holding the actual metal part of the shocker, but try not to use mold grips or anything like that if you can. Right, okay, so same again, old bump stop off. They are a little bit shorter. And to be honest, it's not like the car's going to be much lower anyway, so yeah, I'm not sure why they give you those, but we've got it, so we shall use it. That on. That on. Again, make sure it is seated correctly. And then just make sure it's all sort of seated properly just before you put it back on. The last thing you want is to put it back on and it not be sort of absolutely bang on. You will notice on top of these, if you can see it there, it has got sort of a left and a right. These need to be lined up with this little thing down here. And that is basically going to go into your car. One of the arrows points backwards and one of the arrows points forwards. Now you can't get it wrong because this is a triangle, so you can only obviously mount it one way. If you mount it like that, you've got some diagonal arrows. So make sure those arrows are pointing forwards and backwards and you should be absolutely fine. So let's refit it. Okay, so that is us completely done on the front, and that second side was a lot easier than the first, to be honest. I think once you've done it, hopefully it gives you a bit of a rough guide to what to do, but once you've done it, it's yeah, it's plain sailing. I've got to admit, I know you can't judge it by the fact that we haven't done the rears yet, but if you look at the rears, what's that? 4, easily. Probably 2 fingers I can get in there, which is not bad at all. Do you know what? It's noticeable, and I thought it wasn't going to be, but it is noticeable so far. So what I'm going to do is just try and crack the backs out as quick as I can, and then we'll have a look around the whole car and yeah, see what it looks like. So to get the back springs off, it is so much easier. That's why I started with the front ones, get the hardest ones out of the way. The back ones, just behind the disc, there is a bolt at the bottom. You take that one bolt off and that sort of control arm will drop down and you'll be able to take the old spring out, put the new one in. So it should be, fingers crossed, really easy. So there we go, old one out, new one going in. Again, look pretty much the same size. Make sure that it does seat again, so just keep twisting it until it seats. There is a right and a wrong way, I'm fairly sure. That is seated in there nicely. And that is exactly why we did the fronts first. That's it, one bolt, drop the spring out, put the new spring in. Give this a clean up. I'm going to get some copper slip on that, to be honest. Okay, so we're down to the last corner, and as you can see, it's a bit of a time-consuming job. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this one totally over and done with, catch up with you at the end, and we can have a look how it looks like once it's all settled in. Because yeah, it's one bolt, you don't need to see it again, and I'm trying to do this quickly so that I can go out for my tea. So yeah, I'll do that now, and I'll see you in a minute. And that is it. We're done. And there we have it, the car is back on the ground and the iBack spring kit is installed. And do you know what? It has made much more difference than I thought it was gonna. It does actually look noticeably lower. I thought it was gonna be one of these where, you know, it did sit 10-20 mil lower, but it wasn't really that noticeable. But it is noticeable. So yeah, I'm really happy with it. I'm going to give you a quick sort of just walk around the car. You can have a quick look. So by the time I've edited this video, what I'm going to do is go park it on flat ground. As we're walking around, I'm going to put up the sort of millimetre measurements like I did before on the screen so you can have a look just how much it actually did. I think it's meant to be 30 mil. This kit should have dropped it, but we will see. The numbers will do the talking. So let's give you a little walk around and have a look at the car. So we'll start at the front, and to be honest, it's really hard to tell on wide angle, but you can see the car is sort of noticeably lower. It's got a good drop on it. I'm really happy with that. We'll come round obviously to the front wheels. I believe that before, what was it? Was it 95 mil on the front? And there was a decent arch gap, and now it is, you know, 2 fingers sort of thing. So that is how it sits on the front, and that's how it sort of looks from above. On the rear, that is how it is sitting, and that's how it sort of looks from a normal perspective. I'm really happy with how this has ended up looking. It's given it, it doesn't look low, it just looks, I don't know, sporty. I'm going to go with sporty. So I'll do a quick few shots of the car and then we shall wrap this up. So there we go, the Audi is eventually lowered, and that has been a long time coming. Do you know what, I've even had those springs for a long time, and yeah, I don't know why I've been putting it off so much, but it's done now. It is looking awesome, and I hope you guys will agree. Drop a comment down below if you think it looks good, if you wouldn't have lowered it as much. I know there's a kit that only does 30 mil rather than 55 or so on, or even coilovers. What would you have done, or what in fact have you got? Leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe for loads more A3 content, loads more Up GTI content, and loads more Polo Coupe content too, with some new stuff coming in the future. So leave a comment, subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, and I shall see you in the next one. Thanks for watching. Peace.